Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. As said, I'm here today to discuss some of the ancient technologies and ingredients that are helping fuel modern bakery innovation and the advantages that they can give companies looking to differentiate their products in what is becoming a more and more complex marketplace. Apologies for you that in my earlier presentation, because you're about to have a little bit of repetition. First of all, I'd like to introduce Camden BRI as an organisation, for those of you who are not familiar with it, and then we'll get on to the meat of my presentation. So Camden BRI is a long history in the food and drink industry. We've been at the cutting edge of food research for nearly 100 years now, and have grown to a level of having nearly 400 staff across 3 sites. That's 2 in the UK, the Chipping Camden site in Gloucestershire, the BRI, so the Brewing Research Institute at Nutfield near Gatwick, and a site in Hungary, which mainly works with the European Union to help promote food research groups across the whole of the European Union. We work with industry worldwide. We have an amazing member base. We're the world's largest member-based food research organisation, and that covers the full gamut of food and drink companies. You know, all of the major UK retailers, all of the major global food and drink manufacturers, and that goes all the way down to, you know, small and medium enterprises, regulatory bodies across Europe, and, you know, we have sole traders who are based on an industrial state in a single unit making products that they've had a good idea about. So, you know, we truly can offer services across the whole food and drink industry. One of the primary areas that we offer services is analysis and testing. So we have over 3,000 square metres of lab space, utilising some cutting-edge research and analytical instruments, looking at things such as process contaminants, so whether that's acrylamide or other contaminants in food. We do a lot of animal DNA testing, so I'm sure that everyone's aware of the issues in the food and drink industry recently. So authenticity testing has become a very big area. Taint and flavour analysis, and we have a fully equipped sensory team with 2 sites, which we use for benchmarking, product characterisation, as well as consumer research. We offer support throughout the supply chain, whether that's farmers in fields or food service or even retailers. We look at things such as process safety validation, quality systems, innovation and carbon footprinting, which is becoming a much larger part of the food and drink supply chain. Research and innovation, though, is probably where we are best known. We've got cutting-edge pilot plant facilities across all 3 of our sites, totalling about 4,000 square metres, and that goes across multiple sectors such as bakery, canning, consumer science, new process technologies and sustainability. Now, knowledge management may not sound particularly exciting, but it's certainly a very important area that Camden deal in. Members can take advantage of both bespoke and scheduled training courses on topics across the food and drink supply chain throughout the year. We have networking opportunities, a global regulatory team, and a very well-equipped library. It's very important. Camden BRI really is the centre for helping food and drink companies add value to their business. Now, on to the proper topic. So, I'm here today, I'm going to talk about some of the challenges facing the food and drink industry. I use bakery in the title of my presentation, but a lot of the techniques and ingredients that I'm going to talk about can be used across multiple categories. I'm going to talk about some of those challenges that ancient ingredients and technologies can help overcome, and then talk about some examples of those ingredients and processes. So, I've highlighted 3 of the main demands facing the food and drink industry. Again, I'm talking about bakery specifically, but I think a lot of people involved in outside of bakery will agree that their industry are facing similar challenges. Whether it's a sugar tax, FSA mandated salt reductions, or 16% of the UK population using a gluten-free diet, followed closely behind by dairy-free and soy-free, and a gluten-free industry showing double-digit growth over the past 5 years, hitting 500 million by next year. Really is a challenging industry at the moment. And also, one of the more emerging trends is clean label. So I don't know if anyone was in Tammy Butterworth's talk this morning, but she was talking about millennials and how, of all of the generations so far, they're the ones most concerned about what they're putting into their bodies. And the race for clean label solutions to problems that have already been solved by additives is really at the forefront of the challenges facing the food and drink industry at the moment. Challenges that we thought we'd already tackled are coming back again because we can't use the same chemicals or preservatives that we've been using for decades in certain cases. So revisiting some technologies and ingredients that maybe aren't in widespread use in the Western world or have fallen by the wayside can certainly give some opportunities for improving current products and helping develop innovative and new solutions. So I've highlighted 6 of the main challenges facing modern food innovation. As we discussed, clean label, free from, low fat, low salt. I've added into that vegan, which is slightly different to free from because there's slightly different challenges, high in protein and no added sugar. And the 4 technologies that I'm going to discuss that can potentially help solve some of those problems are ancient grains, fermentation, sprouting, and some natural hydrocolloids. With disruptive innovation coming from small food and drink industries, big companies are going to have to rip up their rule book, take a blank sheet of paper in certain cases, and start looking at their processes again from the ground up, because there's a limit to how much you can do with equipment and ingredients in current supply chains throughout the industry. So ancient underutilised grains, it's a term that's thrown around a lot at the moment, quite a fashionable term. There's a lot of reasons why they're becoming very popular. Some of the main areas that they can address are things like food security. So quinoa at the moment is grown anywhere from the foothills of the Andes to East Anglia. It's an incredibly versatile crop and it has some real health benefits. Diet-related illness, so often ancient and underutilised grains are higher in essential vitamins and minerals than major crops such as oats, barley and wheat, which were grown primarily for their yield rather than for their nutritional benefits. And health and nutrition. So again, a lot of these grains are high in protein, as I said, and high in dietary fibre. So there's potential there for making products healthier by stealth. So you don't necessarily overtly tell the customer that you're making a product, but if you're challenged, you can present evidence that you're making your product healthier. These ancient underutilised grains tend to fall into 3 major categories. Pseudo-cereals, such as quinoa, which are very similar biologically to cereals, but aren't, botanically speaking, a cereal. We have ancient grains, which is an umbrella term which encompasses a lot of variety. An example, teff, which is grown widely in Ethiopia. And then ancient wheat. So these are varieties of wheat that have fallen out of fashion recently as modern bread wheat has delivered high yields and high quality protein, which is needed for modern bread making techniques. So this is just a selection of some of the ancient grains that I've been talking about. So quinoa offers a complete protein, so it has all essential amino acids, which is rare for a grain. We have amaranth with twice the mineral level of most cereals, teff, rich in minerals, high in dietary fibre, and millet, also high in fibre. And then the ancient wheats. You won't be able to make a lot of modern bakery products with ancient wheats because they don't have the high enough quality protein that you see in bread wheat. However, one area where they really offer an advantage is their ability to grow significantly better than modern bread wheats in organic agronomic practices, which, as we all know, the organic industry continues to grow in leaps and bounds. On to some of the processes. So fermentation, obviously, is a well-used technology in the drink industry. However, in food, with some specific regional exceptions, it's not widely used and can offer some big benefits to products, whether that's adding a fermented ingredient or using fermentation as part of the manufacturing process. So increased shelf life. For example, sourdough bread, using exactly the same ingredients, can offer a significantly longer shelf life than modern plant-based bread-making methods. Likewise, yogurt, a fermented food, has a significantly longer shelf life than milk. Reduction in tolerance to ingredients. So under specific conditions, it's been shown that both gluten levels and lactose levels in milk have been reduced following fermentation. Now, that's not to say that all sourdough bread and all yogurt has less lactose, but if you engineer the process and use the correct bacteria, it has been shown that you can make yogurt and sourdough bread suitable for people that are intolerant. I'm not saying that celiacs can eat sourdough, but if you have a non-gluten sensitivity and have given up eating bread, sourdough could potentially become part of your diet. Added functionality. As I say, if you, in certain ingredients, so something like wheat flour, if you ferment it, you'll get a lot of the benefits of sourdough, but then you can use that fermented wheat flour in a standard recipe, in a plant bakery, whether you're making cakes or you're making bread, and that can help increase the shelf life. Ability to use previously unsuitable ingredients. So sourdough bread can be made with a lot of wheat and a lot of other grains that, again, you wouldn't necessarily be able to make using standard plant bakery techniques. And health benefits. So fermentation allows you to reduce the fat and reduce the salt and sugar in a lot of different recipes, such as cakes and bread, and potentially that could obviously help make consumers healthier. And of course, the major benefit of fermentation is beer. So sprouting. Sprouting's, again, a very fashionable term, and it means a lot of things to a lot of people. In essence, sprouting is a way of encouraging the germination of a seed or legume. Now, for many years, sprouting has been the enemy of a lot of wheat farmers and bread makers because sprouting fundamentally changes the chemistry of a grain or legume, which means it normally makes it unsuitable for making bread. However, if you control the sprouting conditions correctly, it can add a lot of functional benefits to the grain or legume that you're sprouting. Changes include increases in total dietary fibre, vitamins, sugar, which obviously can be both a negative and a positive, and an increase in enzyme activity. It also positively decreases anti-nutrients such as phytic acid. Phytic acid is called an anti-nutrient because it binds with a lot of minerals and vitamins in your body and prevents you from absorbing them. So if you can reduce phytic acid, people can actually absorb more of the vitamins and minerals in the products that you're selling them. It also reduces indigestibles, fibre and starch, which can both, again, be a positive and a negative. One issue with sprouting is it needs to be carefully controlled because there are food safety risks associated with it, and there's been big outbreaks in both Europe and the United States concerning sprouted seeds. And also, given that it changes the functionality of the ingredients so vastly, if it's uncontrolled, you won't actually be able to make up any products that you want to make with them. So hydrocolloids are an incredibly important class of ingredients within the food and drink industry. Incredibly functional and used more and more, especially in areas such as gluten-free breads and gluten-free cakes, where they form the backbone of the structure within the produce. However, the majority of functional hydrocolloids are not exactly the most label-friendly, with names such as modified starch, which doesn't sound too bad, but I know from previous experience consumers are getting wise and asking what that modification means, and chemicals such as hydroxypropylmethylcellulose, which I don't think any consumer is particularly going to be encouraged to see on their label. Now, there are a lot of natural hydrocolloids out there, and I've highlighted just two that have some very interesting properties. So cognac, which is a tuber grown extensively in Southeast Asia, has found prominence recently in the production of low-calorie noodles, which have featured on Dragon's Den, where a serving of noodles can be 7 calories and 0 digestible carbohydrates. Now, that's obviously, an incredible innovation in itself, but the ability for cognac to absorb 3.5 times its own weight in water really offers some potential benefits in formulating healthy food and drink, clean label products in the future. There's also an accredited EFSA health claim with cognac surrounding weight control, which is obviously a great selling point. The other hydrocolloid I want to briefly talk about is alginate. Now, alginate is a fairly unique hydrocolloid in that it gels when it comes in contact with certain other chemicals and produces a very heat-stable gel. Now, that can be used extensively to reduce fat and certainly reduce hard fat usage in bakery products, which is an area where Camden BRI has done extensive work. In summary, and I'll finish up now, there are a number of ingredients and techniques that have seem to be fallen by the wayside over the past 50 years within the food and drink industry, whether that's they're not controllable or they don't give a good enough yield. However, using modern techniques, both analytical and processing, it's possible that these techniques and ingredients could become the backbone of future innovation for producing free-from, clean-label products for healthy consumers. So finally, the take-home message is innovation now is in bakeries beginning to hit a brick wall because there's only so much you can do with expensive equipment installed in bakeries and with the existing supply chain. We're going to have to really take a step back and start again from scratch, looking at what is best for the product and the consumer, not necessarily what you can make with the equipment that you've got. There's a lot of exciting existing ingredients out there that have been used for thousands of years around the world that the UK bakery sector is only just realising, and there's a lot of potential there to make some exciting new products. And Camden BRI, with its multidisciplinary approach across analysis, process scale-up and bakery expertise, can help you realise the potential of these ingredients. Thank you.